Hey there, Goat. This is a response to your response, I guess, and I think there's just a lot of confusion with what I'm trying to say, what you're trying to say, and what's going on here, so I'm gonna clear that up. Basically, I'm trying to respond to GKLR, because he said that, basically, petitionary prayer is illogical. And he said that because he could only find two purposes for petitionary prayer. One, that you're informing God of something, and two, that you know better than God when you're informing him of something. Now, informing an all-knowing God is illogical, and thinking you know better than an all-knowing God is illogical. So therefore, petitionary prayer is illogical, because the only purposes you can have are illogical ones. And what I'm pointing out is that when you pray, or even in general where you communicate, you can have other purposes than to inform. I don't think you actually caught all the purposes I said. One, yes, is what you pointed out, because the Bible says so, and it is a statement of faith and belief. That's true, And I know you said, cut the crap, that's what it's all about. But that's not what it's all about. That's half of what it's about. What you're missing is that Christians believe they have a personal relationship with God. And praying, especially petitionary prayer, is tapping into that relationship. It's a connection with God. It gives an emotional response in you. Humans weren't made to be alone, to be secluded by themselves. We're made to love each other. We're made to love God. We're made to communicate with other people. We're made to share in that joy. And when you're petitioning for God to do something, you're sharing in that. You're no longer feeling alone about it. You're feeling God next to you. You're feeling that relationship, and that's why you're doing it. You also pointed out so that's what I'm saying. There are purposes other than the logical ones that GKLR said, and therefore petitionary prayer is illogical. And I think you also misunderstood one point where you're saying when you're asking God for something, you are expecting action, therefore you're expecting change. And I'm saying that change does not equate with action. So when you have petitionary prayer, you are asking God for something to happen, and you are expecting it to happen. You're expecting an action. But that action isn't necessarily change of God's will. That action, when you pray for an action, you pray in accordance to God's will. So you can have action without the change. So therefore, asking God to do something is not illogical as well. You also commented on saying that the analogies are false. They're not exact situations, and I guess that's what the definition of analogy is. But they're important to the pertinent information at hand, i.e. that you can communicate something without one informing, or basically you can communicate something or without the purpose of informing it. And I just use that to show that you can communicate to God for other purposes. So, although the analogies aren't the same, I think it's totally fine, because the reason I brought them up is just to show that there's other purposes to communicate. And you said something about everything's an outward expression of an inward reality, and how that doesn't mean, how you said there's everything that we do is an outward expression of an inward reality, and I think that more backs up what I'm trying to say that that's always a purpose in our communication. We're always expressing an outward reality, and that's also always something we can have for the purpose of what we're saying, despite informing someone of something. So, in conclusion, petitionary prayer makes sense because your purpose is not to inform, and you're not showing that you know better than God. You're doing it out of faith, you're doing it out of obedience, you do it because the Bible says so, yes, which you would say, oh, that's not really logical, which, whatever. But you're also doing it because you have a relationship with God, and you're tapping into that relationship, and that's what we were made to do. Just like when you tell your wife, I love you, you're tapping into that relationship. And it's a good thing for you. It's a good thing for you and your relationship with your wife to say you love them. It's a good thing for you and your relationship with God to have petitionary prayer. Basically the same thing. It's all about relationships. So it's not illogical, basically. Thanks.